Hey friends, welcome to What's Up on the EDH Rec Twitch stream. This is a weekly AMA interview style show where we bring on well-known Magic the Gathering community members and just annoy the crap out of them with lots of questions. I'm your host, Andy Zupke. Joining me tonight as my guest is Nile Joan Rivers. Nile, say hello to everybody.
Hello, that's me. Nile, I mean.
All right, Nile, first question, right off the bat. Big question, the burning question on everybody's minds: how the hell are you? How are you doing? You doing
Ugh,
all right tonight?
that is a big question. That is
Yeah.
a big question. You know, you did not lie. This is not a softball question.
Yeah.
I'm good. I mean, a lot of good things are happening. A lot of very busy things are happening. I am in the process right now of trying to move from Denver to Portland over the course of like 3 weeks, which
Okay.
is a very small amount of time. Um, Working on a lot of content stuff. Getting ready to go work with the professor in Portland, which is very exciting, very cool. Good. I'd say I'm good.
So, for anyone who doesn't know you or who you are, why don't you go ahead and just give us a little bit of info about you?
Sure. So I'm Nile. I go by Nile Joan Rivers everywhere on the internet. I am a Magic the Gathering content creator. I primarily make content for newer players or players trying to get into competitive Magic. I put a really big focus on lowering the barrier to entry into Magic, especially for marginalized people. I'm a member of the group Words of Paradise. It was a very similar goal. I am about to start working with the professor at Tolarian Community College on their show. I do commentary for competitive events. I write some stuff. I make YouTube videos. I do a little bit of everything in this space.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like a lot. You must you
It is a
must be
lot. It is
pretty
a lot.
busy.
I am very busy.
Yeah, working for the professor. That sounds pretty exciting. You're going to be writing for him or editing?
So starting out, I'm going to be doing a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I'm going to be learning all that they do. I'm going to be helping out basically everywhere. So, yeah, some editing, some writing, some, content curation stuff. I'm just going to be a little bit all over. And then after a while of that, we're going to just sort of see what makes the most sense for me to sort of focus on and more specialize in while I'm there.
Okay, very cool. All right, friends. Well, remember this is an AMA, so start dropping those questions into chat. It helps if you tag EDHRECast so that I can see it more easily. But go ahead and start dropping those. And if you like what you see or hear, feel free to drop us a sub or give a gift sub. And I'm gonna kick things off with just a few of my questions while we wait for some questions to roll into
Hit me with them. I'm
chat.
ready. I'm ready.
Okay. Now, I like to start this off by giving my guest a minute to give us your origin story. How did you get involved in magic? How did you get involved in content creation?
Yeah, great questions. So getting started in Magic, I first touched Magic cards in like 2007-ish, with Lorwyn. That was my first set. A friend handed me a pre-constructed deck back when precons were 60 card decks, not commander decks.
Mm-hmm.
A pre-constructed Merfolk deck.
Oh,
And I loved it. I really fell in love with it. Now, predating me playing Magic, I had played a ton of this old Star Wars card game made by a company called Decipher,
okay.
which I played from 5th grade to now. It was out of print when I was in 5th grade. Like, it was a dead game when I started playing it. But my brother-in-law, who was, I think, like 13 years older than me, like, I have a much older sister, so a much older brother-in-law. Um, he was basically a Star Wars card game pro player. And he showed me the game, and I really liked it. And he never took it easy on me. Not a single time did he let me win. And this is, keep in mind, the equivalent of like if Reed Duke played his little like niece in Magic and just like
Yeah,
bodied her every time.
sure.
Like never gave her any sort of edge or advantage. And I loved it. I loved it. Every time I saw him, I'd be like, let's play Star Wars cards. He'd destroy me every single time. Not one time did I beat him. And then finally, when I was like 17 years old, I beat him for the first time. I've beat him 4 times in my life total. I beat him for the first time when I was 17. And it felt so good because I knew
Yeah.
he did not let me win. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he would have much preferred to be able to always say that I have never beat him
Mm-hmm.
at the Star Wars card game, but he can't say that because I did beat him. I beat him 4 times. Don't ask me how many games we've played. It's so much more than 4, but I've beat him 4 times. That's the important part. And I think that really lit like the spark in me for competitive card gaming.
Yeah.
So once I discovered Magic, it was a lot of like in it for a while, out of it for a while, playing mostly with my friends. And then, as I got a little older, starting to play it a little competitively, just at the level of like going to local events or playing online once Arena became a thing. So I did all that very off and on for a long time. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I ended up bedridden for like 3 months. And so I was like, well, I guess now's a great time to get back on Magic, and play a bunch of Arena because
Okay.
I could use a laptop or whatever. Uh, so I started playing a bunch of Arena and I saw an ad on the Arena homepage for this thing called the VML, which the VML sadly no longer exists, but it was a online Magic tournament league for people of marginalized gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so women, trans people, non-binary people, all that. I joined the VML, and at this point, I was not online at all, really. Like I didn't have like a Twitter. Blue Sky didn't exist. I didn't have really any social media presence. And I made one for the VML. And then because I was bedridden and playing a bunch of Magic anyway, I thought maybe I'll start streaming it. And then I kind of like discovered the online Magic community and really just like fell in love with the more serious competitive side and the content creation and all that stuff. Uh, and yeah, I've kind of spun out from there ever since.
Awesome. So you said you're still playing the Star Wars card game? Is it just with your brother-in-law, or do you have other people that you
Just
play
with my
with?
just with my brother-in-law. So they would make these things they'd have some tournaments that were like sealed tournaments,
Uh-huh.
and they would have these boxes where like so you would sit down. Star Wars is an asymmetrical card game, so there are light side cards and dark side cards, and they
Mm-hmm.
have different backs. And every game, one person is light side, one person is dark side. So you would play these sealed events where you get this little box that has this like cool art on it, and then inside of it is like 6 packs, and you would open the pack like face down. And if I was playing light side and you were across from me, I would take out all my light side cards and hand them across the table to you. You would take out all your dark side cards, hand them across the table to me. Every once in a while, I will find a couple of these boxes still sealed online,
Uh-huh.
and I will buy them. It's becoming rarer and rarer and
Sure.
more expensive, but I will buy them, and me and my brother-in-law will do we'll do like that exact experience. Or he has like dozens of decks that play really well together, or like built to play together as like a two-player experience, and we'll play that sometimes. But yeah, outside of that, I don't play it at all. I've barely ever played with anyone who wasn't my brother-in-law, and anytime I do, I remember that my brother-in-law is like the Reed Duke of Star Wars. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like every time I play someone else, I'm like, oh yeah, like you're not like a Star Wars pro. And me being like trained by one for decades had an effect.
Right.
So
Um,
so
ha-
yeah.
have you tried the new Star Wars Unlimited game at all?
Yeah, I actually randomly just have this like Darth Vader right here.
Oh,
Uh
nice.
yeah, I played it when it came out. I felt like it needed a little more time in the oven,
Mm-hmm.
which it's had a little bit. I might
Yeah.
revisit it at some point, but like I liked a lot of the core of what was there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you play it? Did you like it?
Yeah, I've played some starter decks, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's got some cool stuff to it for sure.
Yeah, I dig it. Um, so there was a pretty big thing that happened this past weekend in the competitive Magic world that I know you were really excited about. Do you want to fill everybody in on what it was and why it was such a big thing
Yeah,
and important to you?
yeah, totally. So this past weekend was the regional championships, which was held in Charlotte. The regional championships, if you're unaware, if you're not really plugged into the competitive scene, is a tournament that you have to earn an invitation for.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you earn an invitation primarily is by going to something called a regional championship qualifier, which is an RCQ. Your LGS probably hosts RCQs periodically, whether you are aware of that or attend them or not. An RCQ is played in the same format as the regional championship of that time is going to be. So this was a modern tournament, which means the RCQs that qualified you for it were also modern. So just to get the ability to compete, you needed to go to a local tournament, usually probably like, I don't know, depending on where you live, 15 to 50 people. And you need to win that. You need to get first place at that thing. Once you do that, you're qualified for the regional championships. Now, you go to the regional championships, okay? You go to Charlotte or wherever it's at. And now you have to play with everyone who has won this invite, which means, you are by nature playing with better Magic players because you are exclusively playing with people who were able to earn an invite.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Another way that you can get an invite to the regional championships is the night before. So the RC starts on Saturday. The Friday before, all day long, they will host something that is called a last chance qualifier or an LCQ.
Okay.
It will be in the same format as the RC as well, but basically it is just however many people sign up for it, and then there will be one winner, and basically you have to win 5 matches of Magic in a row. It is single elimination. You don't, if you lose, you're out, and you can go try to like sign up for another LCQ or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I've set the stage now for what an RC is, what an RCQ is. So Jessie Robkin is a competitive Magic player. She is a trans woman. She is extremely talented. She works also for Tolarian Community College doing script writing. If people watch his show, they've definitely seen Jessie. She's been on it multiple times. Jessie's extremely talented. She has done a lot with the NRG series, which is, kind of like a Midwest tournament series. She is also responsible, more or less, for creating a deck in Modern that is an Underworld Breach deck,
Mm-hmm.
which I know is also a deck that shows up in CEDH a lot. But basically, Underworld Breach, this 2-mana red enchantment, cards in your graveyard have escape. You have to exile 3 cards in addition to paying its cost. So they use this, they use Grinding Station, they use 0-mana artifacts, mill through their deck really quickly, and then Thoracle or Grape Shot. It is extremely powerful, it is extremely consistent, it is extremely hard to beat. Jessie has played it forever. Jessie played it before it was cool. Jessie really was the pioneer of the deck.
Uh-huh.
It is a huge deck for Jessie. And it just so happens that right now it is far and away the best deck in Modern. It is a problem in Modern because they unbanned the card Mox Opal, which is a 0-mana artifact that makes mana, and there's too many pieces in Breach that make it really, really strong right now. It is 100% going to be banned at the next banned and restricted announcement here in like a couple weeks. It's a problem. So Jessie, not qualified for the regional championship, shows up on Friday with this deck that she's played for years, that is currently the strongest deck in the format, enters into an LCQ. 5-0's the LCQ, easy. She's qualified. She goes to day 1 of the tournament, because it's 2 days, and you have to do well at day 1 to make day 2. She goes to the tournament. She ends day 1. I think she's 8-1 at the end of the day. There's 9 rounds of Magic. I think she lost 1 round, and it was on coverage. She had 1 coverage round, and that's the one that she lost. So over the course of 2 days, if you're keeping track, she's 13-1. She's won 13 matches of Magic. That is best of 3 matches of Magic, and she has lost 1 of them. Day 2 comes around. There's a certain amount of matches before they cut to top 8. Jessie loses exactly one of those as well. Also happens to be the one where she's on coverage. So she's been on camera 2 times for this tournament, and it is the 2 matches she has lost.
Right.
We get to the cut to top 8, and she is 16-2, I believe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. She's, I don't know, however many before top 8 and 2. She gets into top 8. She makes the cut for top 8 very easily. She's like 3rd seed. She goes through top 8, wins the first round, wins the second round, and then the finals, she ends up against this guy, Corey Burkhardt, who's actually local to Denver here. Really, really great guy. Loses game 1 against Corey. And Corey is like an old pro. Like, competitive players know who Corey Burkhardt is.
Mm-hmm.
She loses game 1, wins games 2 and 3, wins the regional championship. This qualifies her for the Pro Tour. This qualifies her for Worlds. These are like the 2 biggest tournaments a person can possibly qualify for. First place gets $20,000, so she makes a ton of money doing it. And she did it on the deck that like she pioneered and all this stuff. And that is all huge on its own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's huge for anybody to do. Corey Burkhardt wins. That's huge for Corey Burkhardt. Like, that is amazing. But it is especially huge, or at least it felt especially huge to me for a bunch of reasons. One, not a lot of women have won regional championships. And not a lot of trans women have won regional championships. Jessie is like, I don't know the exact number, but she's within the first 5 women to do it. It is a really, really hard thing to do. You know, over the course of 3 days, she won 20 out of 22 matches of Magic, which is an insane number. It is an insane, impossible number. She's running hotter than the sun all weekend. But also, about a year ago, Jessie and I were at the regional championships in Denver together. And Jessie and I are very good friends now. At the time, we were not that close, but we we were friendly. And Jessie was LCQing into the Denver regional championships. And she just gets like 1 match shy of making it like 5 times. Like, she misses like 5 LCQ bullets. She is dejected. And I live here, so I have a car. So I see her like just like head in her hands at a table, and I was like, hey, I know it was a tough day. Do you want to go get some vegan food? I'm vegan, Jessie's vegetarian. So, you know, it just works out. And she was like, yeah, that would actually be really good. Let's do that. And so I take her, we go get food. We have a really long, really good talk where like she talks a lot about feeling like she is on her way out of Magic, like she's going to be retiring soon, and she feels very unsatisfied that she never really qualified for the Pro Tour. She never reached the heights that she wanted to reach and that she felt like she could reach, you know? And as she's getting closer and closer to getting out of Magic, it just feels less and less likely that it's ever going to happen. And I talked to her a lot about feeling trapped in this career I was in and, you know, wanting to do something different. We encourage each other. You know, I tell her like, hey, you've already had a huge impact on this game. You've already inspired so many women and trans women in competitive Magic. You've already done really great. You know, like, you're already incredible. If you retired today, you would still have a lasting legacy, but also you're very talented. And like, if you want to do more in this game, you absolutely can. Like, that is so on the table for you. And she encourages me and tells me about, you know, like, how she thinks what I do is great, and like I can do this stuff full time if that's what I want to do, all that. Side note, the next day, Jessie decides to go back to the event. She's not qualified for the regional championships, but they run all sorts of side events. They were running a 10K, which is just a big tournament with $10,000 on the line. She wins the 10K. So like, she was still very much, you know, Jessie Robkin. But flash forward a year later, Jessie is now qualified for Worlds. I have just like, you know, quit the career that I felt trapped in to go work full time with the professor. Like, we were both doing literally the things that like a year ago we were sitting at this vegan restaurant in Denver talking to each other about like, oh, this is, where we would like to be. And we hit it at like the same time, which is really cool. And I don't know, it felt like a really big deal personally,
Sure.
just because like that is my friend who I have like, we had like this discussion. But it also felt like a really big deal to me, just like within my own community, because like it is such a dark time for trans people right
Hmm.
now. And it is a time where like we are being used politically as just like these pawns for people to, you know basically just say that we don't exist or shouldn't exist or whatever. Um and so to like see a trans woman succeeding on such a large scale so visibly, like it is undeniable, like in the face of like all of this, she is still able to go and win like one of the hardest Magic tournaments that you can possibly win. That's incredible. That's amazing. I don't know. I cried like 6 times on Sunday after Jessie won. It was amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of her.
Yeah, it's absolutely very inspiring, and I'm very happy for Jesse and for you as her friends. And like you said, it's a rough time for trans people with our current administration and everything. So
Hmm.
it's really it's a great thing to see somebody succeeding like that. And
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
yeah, and I'm very excited for her and for you with your move. That's got to be.
Yeah,
Is it scary, exciting, bit of both? How are you feeling about the move?
I would not say I feel scared at all. I feel more just like I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
And I feel more just like anxious about like there's still a lot to do, in a very small amount of time, because like I am leaving in like 2.5 weeks. But a like storage pod thing is coming here in like 2 weeks, and I'm putting most of what I own into it. I'm not gonna have most of those things for like the first 3 months that I'm out there. Uh, so I have to be mostly packed and ready to go like 3 days early, basically. Uh, so it's a very short time window to like move your whole life,
Hmm.
but it'll be good. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'm very excited for you, and I'm excited to see what you do with the professor. I'm sure it'll be
Yeah,
very
thank you, thank
excellent
you.
content. Um, let's move on to some questions in chat.
Hit
Here
me with
we've
them.
got Zoe, who is a excellent person. I'm a big fan of Zoe. She writes some fantastic Magic content over at Card Gamer. Asks, what advice would you give someone just starting out in content creation?
Um, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things I would tell people
Yeah,
getting started in content creation. One, and I think this is the most important thing, I would say just make stuff, and make stuff that you're proud of, and make stuff like a lot. Because what I find is that is like the hardest part, and that is the part that people do the least and do the least consistently. Um, so just like full stop making a thing puts you so far ahead in terms of like what people are doing. I also would say you should do fairly exclusively things that you like to do, not things that you think will resonate or be successful. Uh, that was a mistake I made early, where um, I pretty early on had identified that a lot of the most successful content in the space was commander content. So I started making a bunch of commander content. But I don't hate commander, but I don't love commander. That's for sure.
okay,
And making a ton of commander content was like draining my soul,
sure, yeah,
Uh, and so like eventually I just got to a point where it's like I just, it doesn't matter like if it resonates for people. It's just like so disingenuous to like what I actually want to be doing. Um, so don't do that. You know, learn from that mistake.
yeah,
I would also say, just like be willing to make bold moves, and also like adapt and like change as needed. I think something that happens a lot when people, especially when people start out, is they will start doing something and then they will do like exactly that forever, regardless of like the feedback that they are getting in terms of like uh accomplishing the goals that they're setting out. So just like, I don't know, try stuff, be creative, like do different things and just see like what you like and what sticks and what resonates, and um do all of that, like I don't know. I think it is very good and important in content creation to, as much as you can, like diversify the things that you do. I think there are exceptions to this in terms of like, you know, obviously like really successful streamers, their thing is like they stream and that is pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Um but that is like a whole different bag, but I think like the more that you can just be like, yeah, I do this and also I write articles and also I do this other thing, the better off that is for you, the more people that exposes you to. Um, yeah, I think those are the big ones. I think those are my big pieces of advice without any like specific. This is a place where I think I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say that using social media a lot is crucial for content creators?
You're asking someone who uses social media a lot.
I know.
Oh no. Um, Listen, I do be posting,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Like, I feel very conflicted about this because, like, I've been very successful in very specific social media spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if it's a text-based social media, I've got that figured out. I've got it unlocked. But it is also just a thing of like that sort of works with like how I naturally am. Like I am pretty good at being pretty funny and just like firing off like a funny thing without really thinking too much about it. Um, and I do think that has helped a lot in my own personal success. But I do not at all think that that is like necessary.
Okay.
I think you do. I think something has to work somewhere, but I don't think it needs to work there. Like I have a lot of friends who are much more successful than me, and they do a lot worse on Twitter and Blue Sky than I do. But they, like blow me out of the water on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever, which these are just like such different platforms. I am on Instagram and TikTok. I just don't get them the way that I get the text-based ones. And
Okay.
it's like similar for my friends who do other things. I don't know. I mean, I think you have to be really good at something, like it can be a text or visual based social media, it can be streaming, it could be articles. Um, but mostly I think it's just a thing of like when you're doing content creation, you need to be doing anything you can do that is like more or less a free space, like you need to be putting all of these like free, like 2%, 1% bets on the table. So like if you are a streamer and are writing articles and you're not on any social medias, it's like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much does it really cost you to do? Even if you're like, if you get super like capitalist pilled about it and think like, oh, my time is money. This is, what the like 2 minutes it takes me to write a tweet costs. Um, Even then, it's like basically nothing. It's basically free. And even if you're not successful, you are automatically more successful than not doing it. So I don't think you have to. I just think like, why wouldn't you? I guess is really my question.
Okay. Triple Seven's coming in with the big questions here. What's your favorite kind of sandwich?
This is a great question because
Mm-hmm.
I do love sandwiches.
Yeah.
I really enjoy just like a straight up, just like deli sandwich. I think that's just like great, old, reliable. It's never gonna feel like a bad time to me. But I think if I was going to truly pick a favorite sandwich, I think I'd probably go with a banh mi. Really love a banh mi.
Banh mi is amazing. Now, do you get like You said you're vegetarian. Do you get like tofu on it or what?
Yeah, I'm vegan. I do tofu banh mi's. I actually just made some at home the other day, and it was so good. I'm a huge tofu fan and
Okay.
believer. So yeah, love a tofu banh mi.
Excellent. Chat, let's. This is an AMA, so keep those questions coming. Pilnock asks, "What's your favorite italic ability keyword and least favorite?" So I think just like
Mm,
ability keywords on
sure,
magic
sure, sure.
cards.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for favorite keyword, I'm gonna go with Undying,
Oh, okay.
partially because one of my favorite cards, Young Wolf, is an Undying creature. I don't know. I think Undying is one of those keywords that like gets you thinking, like flying, you don't really like think that much, like you don't really like see a flying creature and be like, what can I do to like make this stronger? You know, you're just like, yeah, it flies over their creatures and does damage easily. Undying gets you thinking like, how can I build a deck around this? Like how can I really gain value from this? Because like obviously there's just the value of maybe you chump block and then you still have a blocker because your guy comes back from the graveyard. Or maybe you build a whole deck around sacrificing permanents, and now you have these permanents that you can sacrifice that come back. Or maybe you build the modern Yawgmoth deck, the most perfect deck that's ever been crafted by anybody, and you go infinite with 2 Young Wolves and a Yogg, and you pop off that way. So Undying, certainly, easily my favorite. Least favorite, even easier to answer. That has to be First Strike. I think that's an abysmal keyword. I think that is a nightmare.
Uh huh.
As like I have carved out a niche in this space of getting new people into Magic,
Yeah.
which results in I have taught literally at this point hundreds of people how to play Magic. And I think it is one of my best skills. I think I'm really, really, really good at uh, teaching Magic. Can we swear on this show?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. I think I am that bitch when
Uh
it
huh.
comes to teaching Magic. Um, every single time I teach it, I try to like alter my approach so that when we get to First Strike, they aren't confused. But no matter what I do, we get to First Strike and they're confused. And it's not their fault, it's because it's a bad keyword. It's so annoying. We have to just suddenly be like, okay, so combat. Well, surprise, there's a bonus step in combat. That's technically always been there, but we've never really like been in it. And now that there's a First Strike creature, we are going to be in it. And now you need to understand why my 1/1 is going to kill your 5/1 and my 1/1's going to live. And that is so hard to understand. And then like once you do finally get them there, you now have to explain double strike, which like good luck. I think First Strike is abysmal. I think First Strike is a nightmare. If I were to go back in time and make Magic myself, that is like the butterfly effect that I would start. Is I would be like, we're never doing First Strike, and you know, we'll we'll see.
Wow. All right.
Hate it. Hate First Strike's biggest hater.
I, I
Yeah,
I don't know
that's how I
anybody
feel.
else who hated on one of the oldest abilities in the game. That's
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
yeah.
It's because it's one of the oldest abilities in the game, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because uh, there's a concept in game design where the more complex your game is, the more depth it can also have, right? And like the more depth that you're able to achieve with low complexity is like elegance in game design. Uh, the thing with that is as you pay the cost of complexity, you are like rewarded with the depth. So all of these people who have played Magic forever, they've already paid the complexity cost of First Strike. So they are just enjoying the depth of like, oh, this does a lot with combat and this stacks interestingly with Death Touch and like all this stuff because they already paid the price years and years ago and they don't even think about there's a cost associated with knowing and learning this ability. Uh, but there is, there super is. It is a very complicated thing, and if you talk to people who've played Magic for a long time and you say, "Do you like First Strike?" They're going to be like, "Yeah, I think it adds a lot of like depth to combat." Um, but when I ask game designers if they think First Strike is, cumbersome and awkward, they're always like, "Yeah, totally," which makes me feel vindicated in
Mm-hmm.
how I feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I don't disagree with you. It's a rough ability for sure.
It's terrible. It's awful. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, I could tell, man. You really went on that one. Uh,
Yeah.
Dice and Dinosaur says, "Hey, Nile, just listened to your Bowlcast episode today and loved it. You were talking about deck building, and I was curious if you could build a cube. What would be the theme or format of it?"
That's great because I'm in the middle of building multiple cubes at the moment. I am a big Ryan Overturf fan. If you know who that is, he's a good friend of mine. He's done a lot in the cube space. Specifically, he's done a lot with what are called tuberts, which are like two-player cubes.
Okay.
And something that I think Ryan is really, really good at is making cubes that are really fun and engaging. He has a cube that's really fun that I got to draft with him called 30 to 50 feral hogs, where the only creatures are 30 to 50 razor swines. And then the whole cube is just built around that. And it's really fun. So I'm in the process of building a few cubes. One cube that I want to make, one cube that I'm just kind of casually making is I'm making a heavily played cube, where basically people just bring me their most beat to shit Magic cards, and I add it to this cube. And eventually, I'm gonna have enough cards to actually play it. And my goal is to play it unsleeved. You just see all the beat to shitness of all the cards. I actually have a Mox Opal from Ryan Overturf that was ripped in half and then scotch taped back together. So that's part of the cube, and that's like one of my favorites because you're just always gonna know where the Mox Opal is. But then a cube that I'm actually like curating is did you see the Cactar from the new Final Fantasy, the 10,000
The
needles?
Jumbo Cactuar, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm building a cube that involves 100 of those, and those are the only creatures. And I'm
Yeah.
designing it in such a way where the only way that you can take damage or gain life is in 10,000 point increments. Like it is literally impossible to take damage or gain life in any other amount. And I'm gonna set everyone's starting life total to like 80,000. So really, you just have to get hit 8 times, but it's like, I don't know. I think it's gonna be fun. And then the cube I'm most excited about, and I've been working on for the longest time, is a two-headed giant cube, because two-headed giant is my favorite format out of all the Magic formats. I think it's the best Magic multiplayer format by far, not close. And I'm trying to build a cube designed around playing two-headed giant.
Very cool. All right. Yeah. Well, you got a lot in progress here. Are you thinking I get those cubes all done before the move, or is it gonna be?
No way. Are you kidding? If I get the move done before the move, I'll be thrilled. I got nothing else. I can work on. That's crazy.
Let's see. We got Jay Sherwood says you can only play one deck archetype for eternity. What do you choose?
One deck archetype for eternity. That's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna go with control.
Ew.
I love control decks. I love listen.
Yeah, okay. No. I'm not judging.
Listen.
I'm not judging.
I think most of the hate for control
Mm-hmm.
comes from the commander side of Magic, which I think is reasonable. Because I would never want to play a control deck in Commander. That's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare to play. It's a nightmare to play against. I think it's antithetical to the entire spirit of Commander as a format. But
I agree.
when we're talking 1v1, it's just me and you trying to kill each other.
Sure.
And your deck is trying to kill me through whatever means, and my deck is just trying to never let you do anything and kill you on like turn 50. That speaks to my soul. I don't know. That's like, saying no to people, killing all their creatures at once, You know the card Thought Distortion?
No.
All right, 4 and 2 black, sorcery. This can't be countered. Target player reveals their hand, exiles all non-land cards, and then exiles their graveyard. I love casting a Thought Distortion. I love taking 6 turns where I take no game actions and then I Thought Distort someone. Oh, baby. It feels so good. It feels amazing.
Do you have a color combination for your Eternal Control deck? Is it Dimir, Azorius? What are you thinking?
I'd probably end up on Azorius Control. I'd probably end up on like an Azorius Control Yorion pile with like a bunch of the 3 mana Teferis. And you would have no fun playing with me, and I would have a blast, and that would be my eternity, and I would be fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, if you could only play one deck for eternity, you'd probably care less about the other people having fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in competitive Magic, you don't care about having fun. Like, you don't care about your opponent
true,
having
yeah.
a good time. You know, like I recently built a modern deck where the whole thesis of my deck is people are running really like greedy mana bases in the format. So I built a deck just around land destruction, and I brought it to an FNM in Seattle when I was visiting some friends, and it brought me so much joy. 2 different games. Yep. Someone, it was like our game 1. They kept a 1-lander, and I was like, "Oh, buddy, big mistake. You have no idea what you've walked into. You have no idea what you've walked into.
You done messed up.
You've messed up. You should have kept like more lands. Like, I'm going to ruin your life." And then I did. Oh, it felt so good. Mm-hmm. I love denying resources.
777s wants to know, what are your thoughts on Pauper?
Oh man, you're trying to get me canceled. You're trying to get me in trouble.
I'm not. 777s is, and take it up.
777s is. This is a targeted attack, I think. Yeah. I think Pauper might be my least favorite format in all of Magic. I love that people love it. I love that there's a format built around commons. I think it's cool. In theory, on paper, I get why people are into Pauper. In practice, I think it is zero fun to play. I don't. It feels like
it's too restrictive, or what?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is Pauper's not even like that restrictive, right? Because they've got like Dark Writ and Counterspell and stuff. But sure. Like, I don't know. I just feel like every game of Pauper I play, we just end up in this place where, like, you know, we're like 1-for-1ing constantly, and then we get to like, we're both just top decking and seeing who's gonna like win the 1-for-1 war. And I know this is like a gross oversimplification of the format. Sure. I'm sorry, Pauper enjoyers. I just cannot extract joy from this format. I'm sorry, it's not for me. That's actually okay. No, I'm gonna stay with Pauper as my least favorite.
Okay. So, 2-headed giant up here, Pauper down here.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay. 2-headed giant, the Pauper.
Excellent. Let's see. Dyson Dinosaur's got another question here. What do you think of Sealed? What is your favorite set to play Sealed with?
Okay. If this is the spectrum of like Pauper is here, yeah, and 2-headed giant is here, Sealed is like here for me.
Okay.
Sealed might be like my favorite competitive format. I adore it. I think it is also way higher skill than most people give it credit for. I think a lot of people, especially people who aren't very good at Sealed, will say that it is a extremely high variance format, you know, where it's just like who opened the bigger bomb. And I don't think that's true at all. Mm-hmm. I think Sealed has an insane amount of skill expression. I think it is very hard. I think it is extremely skill testing. I love it. I think it is so much fun. Favorite Sealed format? I really loved Lord of the Rings Limited. I played so much Lord of the Rings Limited. Of every set of Magic, I think it probably is the set that I own the most cards of, just because like I played an insane amount of Lord of the Rings Limited in paper. Like even like when it first came out, like pre-release weekend, I think I did 6 pre-releases. Like I was doing like 2 a days for like 3 days. Uh, and then just like every event I could get my hands on, I was playing Lord of the Rings draft, Lord of the Rings sealed, playing it digitally like crazy. Um, I thought that set was a ton of fun and limited.
So, speaking of Lord of the Rings,
Mm-hmm.
there are 3 Universes Beyond sets in
Mm.
2025. Do you think that's too many?
Oh, you're really going for me. You're really trying to get me there.
Yeah, that's why we're
Do I
here.
think that's do I think that's too many?
Yeah.
Here's my thoughts about Universes Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we all just need to accept that this is magic now. Um, I understand a lot of people are upset and frustrated about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly really sympathize and empathize with those frustrations, because really they are mourning the loss of what the identity of this thing that they loved used to be. And that's real. It is like so valid to feel some kind of way about this thing that you loved for decades changing in a substantial way and changing in a way that you don't like. Um, I simultaneously think that participation in Magic is higher than it's ever been. And I think Universes Beyond has a huge amount to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as I said, I went to 6 Lord of the Rings pre-releases. One of the really cool things about Lord of the Rings pre-release, as opposed to other pre-releases, is I've never seen more new players
Mm-hmm.
at an event. I've never seen more women at a pre-release. It was huge. It was, enormous to get people in through this thing that they already loved. Uh, to be fair, we also saw something very similar with Bloomborough. Like Bloomborough was extremely successful at bringing in new people, bringing in women specifically. Um, so it is possible to do like universes within, but the universes beyond stuff undeniably has increased the participation in Magic, and I think that's really good and really important. And I don't think it is any less valid for a person who got into Magic because they loved Fallout than it is someone who got into Magic because they loved beta. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I it is at the end of the day a game engine with various game pieces. And this is going to be the thing that breaks a lot of people from loving it and participating in it. And that sucks. And I understand why that's frustrating. But I think on a much larger scale, it is going to be a thing that brings people into it. And I think that's really good. So I think in general, Magic makes too many sets. Um,
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
so in that sense, I think it's too many universes beyond sets. I think it's also too many universes within sets. Like I think it's just too many sets. I think the release schedule for this game is just absurd. Sets don't have time to breathe. Metas don't have time to breathe and really develop. The you know the, the pace of design is so insane, and it feels like we're getting more Hogaks than we used to. We're getting more Nadus and Okos, um, and I mean that makes sense to me because everyone working on the game is working on an insane amount of design, which is already a very, very hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I guess really to answer your question, I think there's just too many sets. I don't really care if their universe is beyond or not.
Okay, that's very fair. Do you have a dream Universes Beyond IP that you would love to see?
They're kind of doing it, honestly. Final Fantasy X is maybe my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
Um, the song, a song for Final Fantasy X, is my favorite song of all time. I've been obsessed with this game since it came out. I've 100%ed it. I've beaten it many times. I love this game. So, getting magic cards for it is sick. Also, Lord of the Rings is one that would have been high on my list, and
Mhm.
they've done that as well. So, like, this is a question I get asked a lot of, like, what's your dream universes beyond? And I feel like I never have a really solid answer, because, like, I think they have their, like, in emergency break glass of secure the Pokemon IP and make like a Pokemon set, and like if the money reserves of WotC ever get low,
Uh-huh.
it's just like they can just print it with a Pokemon set. I don't know if Pokemon would be game for it, but that would go crazy. I don't know if they did another, like they did the Evil Dead Secret Lair. If they
Mhm.
did a Scream Secret Lair, I would buy legitimately 20 copies. Like I would go nuts on a Scream Secret Lair. Um, yeah, I think those are my big ones.
Okay. Very cool. So we are almost out of time here now. So we're gonna end this with a lightning round, if that's
Okay,
all right with you. Just
ready. I'm
a
ready to blitz
few
them out.
super quick questions, and then
Hmm.
we'll call it a night. So
Yeah.
we're gonna do favorite movie.
Favorite movie? Mad Max Fury Road.
Excellent choice. I
Excellent
love
movie.
that movie. Yep. Favorite musician or band?
Favorite musician or band? I'm gonna go with Rihanna.
Rihanna. What is going on with Rihanna and getting a new album out? Why is it taking like a billion years?
Well, probably because of her makeup brand and clothing brand and children, and you know,
I
also the fact that
suppose.
she's made like 6 masterpieces,
Yeah.
and that's hard to follow.
It's been 9 years since Auntie. It's
Yeah, but Auntie is like the masterpiece of masterpieces. How do you top that?
Auntie was excellent. I don't deny it, but I'm ready for more. Favorite video game? I think we already covered that. Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X,
How,
followed closely by Slay the Spire.
Slay the Spire. I've been playing that a lot lately. I've been getting
It's
into it.
really good.
Yeah. How do you feel about 10-2? Are you a
Love
10-2
10
fan?
2. Love 10 2. 10 2 was unjustly treated in its time because of boys in the gaming world. Great
Boys.
game. Love 10 2. Big 10 2 defender.
Favorite food?
Ooh, favorite food. That's really tough. That's really tough. Jeez. I don't know. Come back to favorite food. Come back to favorite food.
Coming
Oh, no, no,
back.
no. I do have it. I have it locked down. Vegan sushi. All right, keep going.
Vegan sushi. Excellent. Last thing you ate?
Last thing I ate was a deli sandwich, actually, as we talked about earlier.
Excellent. Favorite adult beverage?
Gin and tonic. It's basically the only one that I drink,
Mm-hmm.
but I do love it.
Okay. Do you have a gin preference?
I like Hendrix, but I'll
Hendrix is
drink
good.
anything. Hendrix is good.
Hendrix is very good. My wife is actually kind of a bit obsessed with Hendrix. We've got like 4 or 5 different Hendrix bottles in our bar.
I love that
She's
for you.
been collecting them.
Hendrix is great.
Yeah, I like Hendrix a lot. Favorite Pokemon is our last question.
Favorite Pokemon? Easy Dragonite. That's my boy.
Dragonite. Excellent. Nile, thank you so much for joining us for this
Yeah, thank you for
tonight.
having
It's
me.
been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and chatting with you. Um, thank you so much for being here. Before we go, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online, how they can support you, and if you have any events coming up you want to plug?
Sure, yeah. You can find me everywhere at Nile Joan Rivers. You know, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, all the places. I primarily make things on YouTube these days, although that is basically slowed to a halt right now as I am uprooting my life. I do, however, have a podcast I just started with Jerry Thompson, who, if you're not at all from the competitive side of Magic, is a very seasoned pro, has been playing the game for like 25 years. And we talk about sort of the um, ethics of tournament Magic and how to basically how to not be a shithead. So that'll show up on my YouTube channel every Thursday. So check that out. And yeah, I mean, my next event is I'm gonna move to Portland, then I'm gonna fly back to Denver because SCG Spotlight Series Denver is sealed Tarkir Dragonstorm,
Okay.
and I'm gonna compete in that event. But I'm not gonna be like working content stuff. I'm just gonna be competing in the sealed tournament. So that'll be the next big thing that I'm doing.
Very cool. All right, and you can find me on Blue Sky at Zupkeep. That's Zupkeep. We will be back next week, but we're going to be on a different day next week. We're going to be on Monday next week instead of Tuesday, and we have a very special guest next week. It is going to be Gavin Verhey. It's going to be our guest next week, so tune in next week. Monday at 10 Eastern to chat with Gavin. And thank you everybody so much for hanging out with us tonight. Nile, for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a great night, everybody. We are going to raid MTG Nerd Girl. Take care, everyone.
Yippee. Bye.